Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast, where we cut through the noise to bring you the strategic insights that will really define the future of business. Today, we're doing a deep dive into some pretty critical source material. It's titled Business Automation Trends 2026, From RPA to AI Integration.
And this deep dive, it feels so necessary right now. The whole conversation around automation has just completely changed. We're not just talking about, adopting a few digital tools anymore.
Yeah.
This is a fundamental strategic shift. And for any professionals or leaders tuning in, the stakes are, well, they're rising dramatically.
You can see that in the numbers right away. I mean, the source material shows the global business process automation market, BPA. It's already nearing $16.5 billion.
Exactly. And that tells you automation is moving from a nice-to-have project
To the baseline. It's just the cost of entry for modern operation now.
and that momentum is tied directly to the speed of AI adoption. The source has some pretty urgent stats. 63% of organizations plan on adopting AI in the next 3 years.
63%.
And the AI market itself is expanding at, more than 120% year over year. This tech is mature, it's affordable, and it's absolutely ready for production.
Precisely. So our mission today is to get past the buzzwords and give you practical insight into the trends that are actually delivering results. We're talking about things like open source platforms, the move to self-hosted tools for better data control, and these unified technologies that cut costs and speed up outcomes at the same time.
I think the foundational difference between yesterday's automation and tomorrow's is really just the scope of it all.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the 2026 platform landscapes sounds fundamentally different than the RPA tools we were looking at even, say, 5 years ago.
It is, completely. The critical difference is this strategic move toward what everyone's calling hyperautomation. Traditional RPA was all about automating one isolated repetitive task. Take data from a spreadsheet, move it over here.
Right.
Hyperautomation is the system that orchestrates the entire complex end-to-end solution.
So if RPA was like one instrument playing a single note, hyperautomation is the entire orchestra.
That's a great way to put it.
It's stitching together all these different steps and systems to complete a whole customer journey.
Exactly. It combines RPA with AI, with process mining, with complex orchestration software, all to automate these full cross-system journeys. So instead of fixing one little step, you're optimizing the entire workflow. And analysts are saying this is basically mandatory now.
The numbers on that are pretty stark, too.
Oh yeah, around 90% of large firms now treat hyperautomation as strategic because of that holistic approach.
And what makes that orchestration so powerful, I imagine, is the leap in intelligence we're seeing. This is where the source brought up agentic AI. It sounds like we're way beyond simple scripted bots.
Oh, we absolutely are. I mean, agentic AI is the evolution that really matters for complex business processes. They're adaptive agents. They don't just follow a fixed script. They actually learn from the outcomes of their decisions.
So if something fails, it doesn't just stop.
Right. It can try an alternative path or, and this is crucial, it knows when and how to escalate that exception to a human with all the necessary context.
What's fascinating here is the specific gain mentioned. Agentic AI is cutting complex case time by over 50% in some organizations.
50%.
That's not just a faster loop. It's like achieving institutional memory instantly.
Yeah, it's like equipping your automation with the knowledge of a 20-year veteran on day one. That reduction in manual rework is potent. But before you automate anything, you have to be sure you're automating the right thing.
That is such a crucial point. If you build a lightning-fast system on top of a flawed process, you've made a bad process faster. So how do we avoid that trap?
That's where process and task mining comes into the hyperautomation stack.
Yeah.
This function is your diagnostic tool. It uncovers hidden delays, it finds rework loops, compliance gaps, things that are totally invisible when you're just looking at one department. It uses data logs to map how work actually flows, not just how it's designed to flow.
So the mining finds the bottleneck, and then the hyperautomation stack builds the solution for that specific flaw.
That's the high ROI strategy. You need that objective data to point you right to the processes that will prove value fast. We see a lot of organizations starting with critical workflows, like order to cash, procure to pay, or request a resolution,
Get a quick win.
get a quick documented win, and then you reinvest those savings to fund the next wave of automation.
But that level of integration requires speed. I mean, scaling these complex journeys demands data that's not just clean, but fast. The source material really pushes this idea of real-time capabilities being a necessity.
Oh, the need for speed can't be overstated. Over 70% of enterprises will be relying on AI-powered tools specifically for real-time data integration. The whole model is shifting away from batch processing to continuous streaming.
And the numbers back that up. Operationalizing AI by 2025 is expected to cause a five-fold rise in streaming analytics.
Which is crucial.
It's crucial for faster handoffs between automated and human teams. And, at the end of the day, for a clean customer experience, if your data is minutes old, you've already lost.
It also changes where the processing happens. We're seeing huge momentum toward edge computing. The source projects that by the end of 2025, a massive 75% of enterprise data will be processed locally at the edge.
So why does that shift matter so much for the bottom line, beyond just raw speed?
Well, it's really a triple win. First, it eliminates latency for systems that need instant response. Think of factory floor or retail logistics. Second, it cuts huge bandwidth costs because you're not shipping all that raw data back to a central cloud. And finally, it dramatically improves privacy and uptime by keeping sensitive data local within your compliance boundaries.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me, though. If 75% of your processing shifts to the edge, doesn't that make central governance and security, exponentially harder for IT?
It absolutely does. It raises the complexity of distributed governance. And that challenge, combined with cost, is driving this counter-trend toward open source and self-hosted AI.
You mean running large language models on your own infrastructure?
Exactly. This is being driven by data governance needs, especially in regulated industries, and just a sharp reaction to the sticker shock from API fees. For organizations with high volume, running models on self-hosted infrastructure, using open source tools like Llama or custom models from DeepSeek is gaining serious momentum.
So you maintain total data sovereignty.
You maintain sovereignty, and you avoid those recurring per-call API bills, which just become untenable at scale.
So it's less about a coding philosophy and more about owning the stack to protect your IP, customize your models, and flatten long-term operational costs.
That's precisely it. It's a strategic financial decision disguised as a platform choice. And you can see that demand for flexibility in the rise of open-source workflow platforms. The source mentioned N8N, which crossed 200,000 users and grew its ARR fivefold. That just proves that organizations want tools that integrate without causing vendor lock-in.
And that final point on platform choice is key. 94% of professionals prefer a single, unified platform.
Of course.
That strategic choice is vital to reduce tool sprawl and simplify governance, especially when you're dealing with high-volume, sensitive automation. You just can't manage dozens of separate tools.
A unified approach simplifies everything: testing, promotion, version control. It ensures your automations stay reliable. Governance is paramount.
Speaking of governance, we have to talk about proving the investment is paying off. So if you're making this big bet on hyper-automation, what's the ROI North Star?
You have to prioritize measurable outcomes. The key metrics in the source go beyond just simple efficiency. We're looking at hours saved, error reduction, and crucially, satisfaction lift.
For both employees and customers.
Both. Employees are freed from drudgery, and customers get faster, better service.
And those efficiency gains are huge. RPA robots, for example, run at roughly one-third the cost of an offshore FTE.
And the time reclaimed is significant. Employees report saving about 240 hours per year, and leaders estimate it's closer to 360.
And that's time that can be reallocated to higher value, more creative work.
Exactly.
We also can't overlook the accelerators here, low-no-code platforms and intelligent document processing, IDP.
Oh, IDP is a massive force. It deals with all the unstructured data, the PDFs, emails, invoices, that traditionally clogs up workflows and needs manual review.
And the impact is just transformative.
It is. IDP is used by 63% of Fortune 250 firms. It can collapse document handling time from, say, 48 hours to under a second.
48 hours to under a second.
And cut costs by up to 70% in high-impact scenarios like claims intake, KYC checks, or just high-volume invoice processing. It removes the biggest bottleneck in most back offices.
And when you pair that power with the speed of low-no-code development, you have a recipe for immediate ROI. The source projects, 70% of new products and services will be built with low-no-code by 2026?
That's the projection. It lets the business lead development while IT maintains the security guardrails. And you can see these gains clearly across the organization. In finance, Automating API can free up over 500 hours a year.
In sales, which is so focused on efficiency, reps are reclaiming 2 hours and 15 minutes daily through pipeline automation. That's time spent selling, not logging data.
HR seeing huge gains too. Automated onboarding leads to 95% of staff reporting positive results.
And even in cybersecurity, where you'd think it's all manual.
Not anymore. Over 91% of security leaders plan to adopt automated tools by the end of 2025. They want to move from reactive firefighting to proactive, data-driven defense.
The message is just crystal clear. Automation is no longer a niche IP project. It's a necessary part of every functional leader's toolkit.
So in short, the future is these unified intelligent ecosystems. You need systems that link AI, orchestration, and real-time data to achieve measurable outcomes at enterprise scale.
So what does this all mean strategically for someone mapping out their next 12 to 18 months? Where do they even begin?
Well, the first step shouldn't be some massive enterprise overhaul. It should be targeted. Start with 2 or 3 critical processes where you can use process mining to prove value quickly. Choose unified, portable platforms that give you flexibility.
Cloud, edge, on-premise, whatever you need.
Right. And crucially, pair the speed of low-code development with strong IT governance to make sure everything stays reliable and compliant. Measure the hours saved, measure the error reduction, and use that success to fund your next project.
That's the perfect synthesis of strategy and execution. So as we wrap up, here's a final thought for you to consider. Given the rapid rise of this agentic AI, these systems that learn and adapt, how does an organization need to shift its talent strategy away from manual execution and more toward what? Monitoring, auditing, and governing these learning systems to maintain quality and ethical alignment. That feels like the next huge management challenge.
That is a fundamental question. The role of the human shifts from performer to overseer, and that requires a whole new set of skills focused on systems assurance and quality. That's a critical provocation to take away.
We really appreciate you tuning in and letting us guide you through these critical trends that are defining 2026.
And if you want more actionable insights into the future of work and business strategy, be sure to subscribe to the SmartKeys podcast, wherever you listen.
And as always, the link to the full source article, Business Automation Trends 2026, is right, though, in the show notes. We absolutely encourage you to dive into the original material. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.